What do you make of the Russia factor in all this? I mean, the Russians, I imagine, would be very happy with the statement of Macron. Pardon
me. Yeah. I mean, so obviously the Russians are sort of looming large in any kind of discussion about NATO and its purpose, obviously, because, given sort of, NATO's historic role as, sort of the Western alliance against the Soviet Union, and obviously today with a much more sort of, assertive Russia. But I mean, Russia is only one of a number of challenges and threats that NATO faces. And to some extent, NATO is aware of this. But I mean, of course, this does raise questions about how it's able to respond to them sort of moving forward. So, I mean, I think Emmanuel mentioned obviously the sort of the instability that is present with the Middle East on Europe's border, and sort of the danger, the problems that are exposed there by sort of the refugee flows as well as terrorism. But we also have other sort of threats as well, so like cyber threats, which I believe the NATO Secretary General earlier this year did say would be a question of collective security for NATO. But that said, I mean, this is ultimately sort of the big question about NATO, which is that as an alliance, it's been predicated on the basis of, in effect, almost all for one and one for all. So an attack on one member means that all have to back it. The question is really, is that really viable and sustainable in today's world? I mean, even just a few years ago, there was a wargaming effort by NATO to see what it would do in response to, say, an attack against the Baltic nations. And sort of the wargaming exercise somewhat concluded that NATO would not be able to defend it, at least not in time, were there to be sort of an invasion. So that does raise questions about, sort of NATO's capacity. So certainly, sort of, it's been a bollock of the Western alliance and a bollock of the global order. But if it's not able to say what it says it's going to do, that does raise questions about its viability moving forward.